Why are you selling this mill?
So they can retire.
Yeah, I guess it's because a lady interviewed me one day, and I told her, I said, the mill's a 42 and I'm a 41. We're both a little worn, but now there's 3 families involved, and the mill's old and we're old, and oh, it's time. I guess Lee Iacocca said you either got to lead, follow, or get out of the way, and it's time for us to get out of the way. And I'll miss that, but I'm already missing it, and we haven't even got rid of it. But
How old are you?
I'm 82, and Everett's 85.
85, 82.
Is the new guy gonna use the mill?
No, that's why we're taking it down. A lawyer said, you know, you can't let him keep the mill there, because if somebody gets hurt, said he'd come back on us and we'd be in court.
This is old too, and you know, they never would be able to probably keep sawing. They'd have to do a lot of repairing to keep it going.
Back in 1929, my grandmother and grandfather were buying the Westover Inn, and my grandfather worked at the plywood factory. It's where the mover is now. On a Friday night, he was hurrying to go home. He played the violin, he played by ear, and he called squares at the same time. And upstairs in the Westover Inn was a dance hall with a spring floor. He hurried across this walkway over by where Nido's garage is, and was trying to catch a ride home. And there was, as I remember, the doctor had a girlfriend or something. She hadn't ever driven much, and she got excited with all the people and hit the brakes, and my grandfather never see her coming and knocked him down, and 2 days later his head swelled up and he died. And my grandmother and grandfather only owed $600 on that Westover Inn. My grandmother lost that and moved up here on the hill where my folks raised all of us. And my dad moved up there and saved the place there, paid $3,000. He worked for years and paid it off, and that's how it all come about. My father was William and Daisy Fitzpatrick, and my dad was Leon and Sadie Bills there. Yeah, that's my dad's father and his brothers there. Was born in Rawsonville, Jamaica, and lived a lot of his life in Jamaica. And Mom, I think, was either born up here, or her family owned a place at the top of the hill above where I live, and then they eventually moved it over there.
So he was always doing something so he could keep things going.
People owed him money and he didn't have any way of paying it, and he lost the garage and he lost the house. He moved up here on the hill with my grandmother, had 3 kids, had Lee and Burdette and Beverly, and they moved up there and they didn't have a nickel to their name. And somehow he said he worked for the town for $3 a day when he could get work, and they kept $1.50 for taxes. But somehow he managed to get a mill going down here. He started a little mill. He started out with a 1-cylinder engine, then he had a 6-cylinder gas engine, and eventually in probably late 38 or so, he put in a steam engine. And one night he was putting logs on. There was an old dead tree on the end of the mill here, and they think a spark came out of the stack from the boiler. In the middle of the night, our old dog barked. My oldest brother slept upstairs, and he hollered to my dad. He came down, and the only thing he saved was it was a 1940, I think it was, a truck. The steam was nice because that trimmer there, when that was working, it would cut off the ends. There'd be all kinds of pieces. They'd throw all that in the boiler, and he didn't have to buy any fuel, you know. And what was the best part of it was they'd blow the whistle at 8 o'clock, and at 12 o'clock when they shut down, at 1 o'clock when they started up, and 5 o'clock when they quit. It was nice to hear that old whistle there, yeah.
One time, not too many years back there, we were sawing in the wintertime, the logs froze, and In this big saw here, it's you got 52 teeth, and every tooth there's a ring shank, and the ring shank locks in, holds the tooth in place. And one day we were sawing, and one of these ring shanks kicked out. And when they go, they found them stuck into the wall or went
Just
through
like
the
a bullet.
wall.
Or they
just
right through that wall.
like a bullet shot. And Alan, he's been hit in the stomach or
Yeah.
his head there with
Yeah, a
one.
piece come out there.
And he's lucky. And another time, this edger piece over here that they run the boards through to square them, that has two smaller saws, same setup. And was a frozen board or something?
Yeah, it was frozen, and luckily I had on my shirt and another shirt and bib overalls and a heavy work coat, and a tooth come out of that thing, struck me right in the chest and knocked me right flat on the floor. Evidently it must have hit me kind of flat ways, because if it ever hit me the way that it's going, I probably wouldn't be here.
These logs here, they cut them everywhere, and over the years, people drive a nail in or a screw or
Bolts and
bolts, horseshoes. They hang stuff in a tree, and then the tree grows over it. And I don't know how many hundreds of times they hit hardware inside the tree that you don't know is there.
Alan hit one win.
And I just put brand new teeth, 52 teeth in that, and it cleaned every one of them teeth right off, and it pretty near ruined the shoulder.
And it ruined the saw.
I'd sawed 3 sides, was all good, and I turned it over to saw the other side, run right into that piece of metal.
Well, there's lots of stories of my grandfather would go underneath the equipment here to keep the sawdust pulled away from the gearboxes and the belts and shafts, and he went under the mill. Was he cleaning the sawdust there?
Yeah, well,
Tightening the belt, he had a wedge he drove in there for the clipper. 'Cause
something was bothering, and he went underneath and got caught in the shaft, and they pretty near finished him. It ripped all his clothes off, pretty near pulled his arms off. And
got a concussion.
got a concussion, but he was tough. He survived, and God, when he come out one day, he was bleeding and no clothes left on him.
Flopped him around a few times.
He never, I guess what it did was it pretty near pulled his arms off, and he was a scrapper. And it bothered him, pick his arms up, and he'd get up on a chair up at his house, and he'd put his arms up and kick the chair out from under him, and then he'd hang by his arms, and he thought that would make him better, and I don't think it ever did, do you?
No. He never gave up.
God, he cut firewood till he
Split it with them all.
Yeah, he at night he was still cutting up firewood and splitting it with them all. He wouldn't use a splitter on a bat.
The OSHA guy gave us a rough time. We had to go up to Rutland. The state inspector came in, and my dad wasn't here, and the boiler was down in there, and he walked in there, and Dad always shut the mill down when he came in to inspect it. Well, the mill was still running. He walked up through there, and there was a saw there. They cut up all the waste wood to go down in. He stuck his hand on that saw and cut 2 fingers off, and he took my dad to court, and he said he didn't know that saw was there. Well, he made my dad put a sign, "Keep out." He went right by his own sign. So he went to court, but he didn't get anything out of it there. Then he had another mill. He started up on the hill, going up towards Everett in 1956. He bought the mill from Tip Robinson. Got that all set up, and my brother Milton started sawing up there. I don't know whether somebody dropped a cigarette or what. The next morning we went to work and the whole place was on fire. Dad lost everything he had up there. It was, I don't know how he could take it. Yeah, we never rebuilt that one. That was more than he could take. Yeah. He got that steam engine from Roger Chafee in Oxford, Mass. Dad made a deal that he would saw 75,000 feet of round edge pine at $12 per thousand to pay for the engine. Dad went down to the mill, and that's when the only thing he was able to save was this 1940 truck. Finally got it running. When he drove away, the logs were burning on the back of the truck. Fire was over. There wasn't a bit of anything left for Dad.
So he didn't get to pay for the mill
before it burned.
So he owed all that money.
Yeah, and then he had to get another one and start all over.
And still had to pay the first guy.
Yeah.
My dad and I had quite a big load of lumber on a truck that we had, and we went to, they call it Crossroad, and went over and we had to take a left, but it headed back into Jacksonville. And over in Jacksonville, when you're going that way, it's pretty right straight down into the town. And it was in the fall of the year, and it was just when leaves were all colored. Well, there was these two old ladies in front of us in a car, and we were going along down through by the school, and God, they decided they were going to take a picture, and they just stopped right in front of me. And the old truck we had hydraulic brakes. Well, it blew the brake line, and it was either hit them or go around them. Well, there was a car coming, and I right around them, and I missed the guy coming at me. And we went down through, and it pitched right off right down into Jacksonville, and I didn't want to head down in there, and the only thing I could see was a driveway coming up, and my dad was with me, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm. He got right hold of the emergency brake.
Yeah, he got right hold of the emergency brake, and he pulled as hard as he could, and the whole smoke rolling right out of the floorboard, and it slowed it enough, so I went up into this driveway and then right back down into the road. Yeah, but it did get the truck stopped, and Alan, he come over and brought wrenches and all the stuff we needed and fixed the brakes, and we made it with the lumber and made it home, but it was something scary.
Well, I guess we were bringing hay home from up in Stratton, and we got rid of the hay and we headed back up through, and I guess we forgot the brake was on a little bit. It was an old 46 Ford, and we had grain bags on the floor, I guess, because the floor was bad, and we got up the road there, and all of a sudden the flames were coming right up through by my feet, and he hadn't even stopped, and I came out of that truck. I was running for the river, and I found an old can somewhere, got a can of water, and Everett was pulling the stuff out there. We got the fire out and made it back up to get another load of hay.
Train had hit a tanker truck on the road I was headed on, and God, I had a big load of them hardwood squares that they made up in the back here. And I was probably doing 40 miles an hour, which was fast enough with a load on. And God, I come around this real sharp curve, and then it curved back to the right. And it was a divided highway, and right in the middle of it, right where I was headed, was a cop, and he was motioning for me to go left. Well, I already was going right, and with a load on, you don't want to cut real quick. You're going to be going over. I didn't want to cut it real quick back the other way because I knew I'd be landing right in the road. Well, I cut it, and I know that I was close to him, but he was running like crazy. I missed him, I was hoping I missed him, and I looked in the mirror and I could see him. He was still running. I had some good rides over the years.
Yeah, that's what Dr. Backer said. That's what life's made of, memories. I said I got a lot of them.
We all had calves, and I guess Alan had 2 or 3 horses, didn't you? But our dad would give us a calf or 2, and I guess Milton might have had.
Milton had 2 pair, one black ones and
Yeah.
one were white ones. Yeah, I miss Milton there. We worked together for years, and he was just such a nice guy and easy to work with. He's like a big bear there. Yeah.
What happened to him was really sad.
What did happen?
Well, Milton went to high school 1 year, and then he didn't want to go anymore. He went to the mill and started working, worked there the rest of his life. And the day he got sick, he was at the mill, and they were trying to get a bolt, a nut off and something. And I guess he was trying really hard to get it off, and all of a sudden they asked him if he wanted to sit down, and he said no, he wanted to lay down. And in the end, they told us it was an aneurysm.
I am Debbie Bauer, used to be Bill's. My father was Milton Bills in Wardsboro for Bill's Lumber Corporation. I was part owner in it after my father passed away in 2009. This is the one-room schoolhouse on South Hill, and this is my dad right on the corner. And this is a plaque that I have that was his. It says U.S. Army 2.5-ton truck winner on the 24th Infantry Division Artillery Driver Proficiency Contest, June 17th of 1959. This is my father, Milton Bills, and my aunt, Janet Bills. This was Alan's wife. Great picture of the 2 of them.
We're 4 brothers and 2 sisters. There's 7 of us. 9 of us every meal. But she had lug water from clear up here, and there was a spring. She had to walk from the house all the way out through and down over to the brook. And she lugged water for all of us, I guess, and that's how she did her washing. And yeah, when we were little, we had a big old galvanized tub, and I can remember all of us 3 boys, I think, took a bath in the same tub.
That's when it didn't pay to be the youngest.
When I went to school in West Wardsboro, it was about the first of any buses or any kind of a bus. It was an old Model A woody wagon, and we'd I don't know what grade I was in anything, but this guy lived down to the village, and he'd pick us kids up on the way to West Wardsboro school, and 2 or 3 of us would get in the very back end of the old Model A woody wagon. He'd head up the road with it, and we'd be shoulder to shoulder, so we'd start going back and forth like this. Well, the back seat was back past the rear wheels, and that car would go all over the place, and he'd get so mad he was gonna kick us off the bus.
It was a nice place here. Nice place to work, nice place to grow up. The family into farming and sawmills and family gatherings, and they did a little maple sugaring. My grandfather had a sugar house. There was cider press in the fall. The families would get together and make fresh apple cider. And this little brook here is raised a lot of brook trout, and everybody fished and ate brook trout. Everybody hunted on the back property that the mill was part of.
Yeah, my dad was hunting up back and it was snowing and he shot a pretty nice buck, a 7 or 9 pointer, and he was dragging it down through and there was a camp up there. The guys were from Massachusetts and they come out and they see that deer. They said, geez, we'd like to buy that deer. We'll give you $40. He said, no, I guess I'd take it home. So he said, well, come in and have a drink and have something to eat. So he went in and had a few drinks with him, probably more than he needed. And anyway, they had lunch there and he got ready to leave and they handed him $40. They said, you better take the $40. He said, why is that? Said, that meat we cooked was off the hind quarter of your deer.
What's the name of this brook?
Miserable.
Water that came down through that flooded the mill out. There was a beaver dam way up the brook, a long ways up, that broke. That took the mill right out when it came down through. It didn't take actually the whole mill. I mean, they took the lumber and the cleaner shed and some of that, but it didn't take the mill part, but it went all around it. And lumber went clear out in front of the garage that goes as you go up the hill. And we were supposed to be in Brattleboro at a certain time. We never got there until, because they had to fix the road so we could come down off the hill, because it washed the hill. When I said we were in a flash flood, she says, yeah, right. And it is actually the only place that did that, right in that area up there. I mean, it poured everywhere, but that's the only place that got the damage because the beaver dam broke. And I'll tell you, it was dirty, you know, with that water and stuff. It was right up at the top of the mill. Because that great big culvert they've got there, it washed that right down the ways. But it was scary. I don't know how Alan got out of there before the water got him, because he was at the mill, but when he saw it coming up, he ran.
Hey, it's a last chance, and it's like the end of an era, and I thought it'd be ideal to do down by the old mill stream, seeing the mill will probably be gone and by the September. You're gaining little by little.
Feeling a little wired.
Now you got a hold of my bill. That's the phone there.
Yeah, nobody can reach us now.
No.
That one's gonna go to voicemail.
Yeah, it's called a double-edged trimmer. We haven't moved it for a while and it doesn't want to go. The man that bought it, Mike Heffron, is going to have them leave some of the nice oak trees up there because he wants to make it for the deer, and he's going to seed it all down. And if he leaves them oaks, there'll be some acorns for the deer and bear and whatever eats them there. These boards probably been up overhead 25 or 30 years, some of these old dark ones.
Well, how did a pharmacist get mixed up in this?
Well, I came here and I go to Allen's church, and I think when Milton passed away, they thought they needed maybe some help, so I wanted to help keep the mill active. So I just volunteered to give them like a day a week. Those sets in the movies, right? You see the facade, you go around back, it's just a couple of timbers.
Yeah, yesterday my niece came down to help us, and Debbie Bauer, she's part owner.
My job as a kid, pick up the stickers.
My son-in-law David Brown was here, my daughter Allison, my sister Beverly and her daughter Caroline, my son Norman, and we had the whole crew. And this is a tool for taking the teeth out of the big saw. This is a log ruler. There's numbers on here, and that would tell you how many board feet in that log. It's all figured out. This is called a PV, and this is a roller's hook. This is a small one for smaller logs, and you roll the logs on with this. This is the heart of the business. Yeah. Solid as a rock, yeah. No, I still got Florence. Yeah, thank God for her. Yeah. So it's the end of an era, that's for sure. That's the kind of chain that Amos needs, and I got a whole bunch of it, so I can take it up for his mill there. Yeah, I don't want that to go in the junk pile.
My name is Amos Newton. I have a sawmill that's a little bit like this one. It was my father's sawmill, but I had to move it and rebuild it, and so I'm still running the mill that runs on an old diesel engine and has a big circular saw, and I'm one of the only people around here that's still doing that, so I'm getting lots of business lately. But I came here because Alan had some old sawmill parts that are hard to find that he was going to otherwise scrap, and I didn't want to see him go, so I'm glad to come and get some of these things that I can make use of.
If you smell French fries.
Yeah, well, this car was made in 1981, and it gets 37 miles to the gallon on fry grease. Plus it rides like a Mercedes-Benz. Sometimes I need spare parts. Got to be able to fix stuff. I mean, half of sawmilling is fixing stuff. Another quarter of it is shooting the shit. Another eighth of it is, or maybe even a quarter of it, is moving stuff around. And then you got zero time for sawing. No, once you get going, you can do a lot while you're sawing, but that's only a small amount of the whole sawmill thing.
There was stuff we found in the back there. We found things in there we didn't even know we had. They may have to even use 3 excavators to get that set on a trailer. It's so heavy there. That's going to be one of the hardest things to move that we've got to get rid of.
step up there. We'll turn around and, oh, such a handsome bird. Such a handsome bird. Are you hungry? Are you hungry? So just here in the barn, there's so much of Bill's lumber, and all of this that you see here is rough sawn lumber that I got at Bill's, and the stalls were all made from the rough sawn boards that I got there. So we go back a long ways, and my interaction has been with Alan. I called him a number of weeks ago, and I said, Alan, I would like to get some more slab wood for my little sugaring operation. Well, I think I still have some piles out there, but you know, I sold the place. I can't believe that it's sold. He said, oh yeah, they're taking things down. So Rye and I, we drove over with our pickups, I guess it was a week ago, and Tigo, it just broke my heart. It was just so profound to see these excavators and bulldozers and backhoes, you know, knocking things down and putting it in piles and burning it. And when something exists in your life and it's taken away, it's so much more profound than if I were reading a book about an old mill that was torn down. I'd say, oh, how sad that is. But you just realize, I just realized that this was the end of an era. It will never, ever be again. After the experience of going up there and collecting the wood, I was sitting at our kitchen counter having a glass of wine at the end of the day, and these thoughts came to my mind. Passenger pigeons, darkened sky, sun extinguished as they fly. Sawmill blades whine and cleave, boards once trees take their leave. Things so vast seem to be, not just now, but for eternity. Glass birds stuffed, now on display. Last of an era, died today.
So what do they call this?
This is a molder planer. It's a real old one. It's called a Babbitt bearing. You have to oil it every time before you run it. And my dad bought this probably 40 or 50 years ago for $750, and I think they said it weighs 8 ton. It's all cast iron, but it does a good job. And I'm gonna try to plane these boards for Florence, for her house that got flooded in Irene there. So it take me a little while. You may want to shut it off. I gotta oil it up. The guy that might be interested in, Jamie Nystrom, I planed 8,000 feet of lumber for him for the sugar house down in across from Riverbend there. This will be the last building we have to take down, and we get everything cleaned up, and I guess we'll be done for good there.
get one then?
I got it if I can get it on my shoulder. Not that easy.
I was in the Boy Scouts from the time I was 11 till 18, and I was a Scoutmaster for about 5 years. I said I can still remember the Scout laws: they're trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. Honor, I do my best to do my duty to God, my country, to help other people at all times. Keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight. I never forgot it. That's the way I've lived my life. If some of these politicians could only do that, it'd be a great world.
Yeah, my name's Mike Heffernan. I was fortunate enough to meet Alan driving down from North Hero one day, and I saw the mill and I was intrigued, and I walked in and Alan showed me around and I fell in love with it. I'm going to revitalize the property and open up the fields, and I'm going to use it for recreation, hunting, hiking, hanging out. I was driving down from North Hero, and I was coming by, I was going to go by Mount Snow. I was heading to Connecticut, and I drove by and there was a sign that said 433 acres for sale. It was painted on a plow. And I pulled into the driveway, came up, and Alan was in the mill. And he said hi, and I started talking to him, and he was cutting in the mill, and I was fortunate enough to go in there and watch, and I sat in there for about 3 hours and talked to him and listened to him, and I said, you know, I'm interested in buying your property. And I looked at it, and I knew I wanted it at that point. So I'm sure he's got lots of things in it he has never had an opportunity to do, and never had the time to do, and hopefully this will give him the time to do it. Plus, he's still got the land here that he can come visit anytime he wants.
Yeah, some of these trees, we used to come up and hang buckets on them and went clear over in the woods, probably half a mile. My dad used to boil the sap down. We'd go gather for him, and he would make maple syrup. Sometimes he'd make like 80 gallons in a year. Sometimes we've sawed some of these, and when you saw them, you can see the tap holes where they tapped them to make maple syrup years ago. There's a big oak, my dad would never cut it. It's probably 3 foot through. It's just a beautiful tree, and this guy's not, he said he wouldn't ever cut it either, so. Growing up, this was open a lot more, but if he cuts a few trees here, you can see it all the way down around. But it's a pretty nice spot here. Yeah. This lady came over, she was really drunk, and she said, "Hey, mister." I said, "What?" "Would you play a song for me?" I said, "Yeah, if I know it. What would you like?" "Would you play that song, Please Relieve Me?" Well, she turned around, her pants are wet. I said, "It's a little late, but I'll play it anyway." Yeah, but it's been fun. I never had so much time to, everything's done so good this summer, and Thanks to Florence pulling weeds, and she was just pulling some nail there. Yeah. Yep, I play Sundays in church, and this is one that Perry Como did. He sang this years ago called "And I Love You So." I actually played for my wife's funeral. She got me that trumpet for our 40th anniversary, and I had a tough time playing up here the other day up in church. That would have been our anniversary. I stopped back to the cemetery coming home, and I played that up at the cemetery when I got through church there. Yeah, this is a goose I made. This was a piece of butternut. This was a limb off a black walnut tree, and I cut that out. That's ash wood from an ash log. I got a nice shop that I never get to work in, so maybe now I can finish some of my projects. Florence and me have been doing float ever since. I've been doing them a long time, and Florence been helping me. I told the kids, I said, I've had such a good life growing up with nice parents and being at the mill, and I got 3 nice kids and grandkids, and they all stay out of trouble and couldn't have a nicer family. I said, geez. I told them, my grandsons that time, they were working with me, and my son, we'd worked all day, and I said, you know, if I died tonight, I'm just taking one, be able to wipe a smile off my face. It's been such a nice day with you guys. Yeah, them were nice times. Yeah. Told different people selling the mill, it's like dying. I know what's going to happen, but I don't look forward to it.
George Rigolo, and I worked with Alan and Everett and the group as a clipper, meaning I had to move everything around and be the grunt person. That's about it.
I helped work on the debarker and fix that up for him a little bit, and we played an awful lot of music for a lot of years.